Shanahan and his coaching tree and how great those guys are?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Who was in that coaching tree?
Okay, so we got Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur, Zach Taylor,
No,
Nico
no,
Ryan.
no. They weren't in the article. It was 4 guys in the photo.
Okay.
It was
So it was
McDaniel.
LaFleur, McDaniel, Kyle, McVay.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was the 4, and
Okay.
it showed. And why this
And
came
LaFleur.
out now, I don't know. But
Yeah.
first of all, I'd like to say, among the 4 of them, between the 4 of them, that's 1 Super Bowl win.
Mhm.
That's it. I mean, The Athletic, I don't know much about them. I have some friends who write there, and I'm glad they have jobs. I don't read The Athletic. But how do you praise 4 guys who are head coaches and they have only 1 Super Bowl? But then here's another thing. Among those 4 guys, Iggy, how many have developed a quarterback?
None.
None? Could like Kyle, we've already done. He doesn't know his ass from his elbow about developing, so he's out. When it comes to McVay, he got Stafford.
Yeah.
He didn't develop Stafford. He got a present. He got a present, gift wrapped.
He went to the Super Bowl with Jared Goff, but eventually he got rid of Goff, and now Goff's playing better now than he was before.
Away from him.
Which could happen to Jimmy Garoppolo too. We'll see. What happens there.
Or Trey Lance. And who else? LaFleur, he didn't develop Jack. And what's more, he couldn't get along with Aaron Rodgers. Now, Aaron Rodgers is tough, but Aaron Rodgers has contempt for LaFleur's offense.
Correct.
We know that. He had absolute contempt.
That's right.
And the other one, McDaniel, I'm going to give him half a credit.
Yeah.
Tua, I don't like at all, but he made Tua serviceable. He actually progressed his game to whatever. So I'm giving, among the 4, I'm giving him credit for a half. Why did The Athletic do that article?
Yeah.
What were they thinking of?
See, this is what I think. What is it about this coaching tree that gets people so excited without hardware to back it up? I think what they say is, look at what these guys can do without a great quarterback, right? You just said it. You just said it with McDaniel. Look what he could do with Tua. He made Tua better. Tua's not that great. Look what Kyle can do with Purdy. No one else could do that with Purdy. So it's always like, they're afflicted. They have this affliction of bad quarterbacks that is like forced upon them, and they're able to wiggle out of it better than other coaches. But the other way to look at it is, how come they always have subpar quarterbacks? All of them. And the one guy who finally figured out, man, I can't develop him. I can't scout him. Let me just trade for a guy who's been in the league a long time, in his 30s. That's the only guy who won a Super Bowl out of this. Every other guy is stuck in that game of, ooh, I can make this guy better. He kind of sucks, but on my team, he could be good. And Kyle's doing it again with Sam Darnold. He kind of sucks, but he could be cheap, and I can make him good. No. Just get Stafford, man. He's good. He's expensive. Get him. But no, that's not what this group does, and they get praised for not doing it.
Yeah, The Athletic praised them. Actually, I look at its 4 losers. The one guy won a Super Bowl, and then next year he went in the tank. It's 4 losers who won 1 Super Bowl and developed half a quarterback. And they wrote an article about him?
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get it, Iggy.
I also think there's something to it. Maybe this is a psychological thing, but when people like telling you why someone's a genius, even though they may not be, this person here is a genius, and I'll explain why. Aren't they really telling you that they're a genius? They're really, I'm a genius by proxy because I understand his genius and you don't. That's what they're saying, right? And I think this coaching tree, like those kind of football fans that want to feel superior, the snobby football fans that think they're smarter than everyone else, they love the Shanahan, McVay group because that's kind of what they represent, The average football fan doesn't appreciate them because the average football fan looks at stupid stuff like Super Bowl rings that anyone could see, but someone who watches the tape, someone who sees the advanced stats, understands that these are really the best coaches and they're being held back by their players, and it's a tragedy. Like, no, that's not what's happening. Andy Reid is a real coach because he makes it about his players. These guys make it about themselves.
And their system.
And their system.
All 4 of them use that system, and the system wins Jack.
Yeah, and it's their excuse for not being able to find a transcendent quarterback because they're just looking
Yeah.
for a guy who can fit. They just need a guy who can fit their system. Great. Good luck with that.
Okay. I got a question. Of those four, and I have a strong opinion, who is the worst head coach of those four? And I think I know.
It's interesting. My first instinct is LaFleur.
Me too.
But let me say one thing.
Okay.
Let me say one thing about LaFleur. He coexisted with Aaron Rodgers somehow for like a few years. You think Kyle could have?
No. He couldn't have him.
No.
And he couldn't have Brady.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I feel like Kyle needs to be ranked way lower. Just talk about the quarterback. Could he work? Could he even work with Aaron Rodgers? No. At least LaFleur did. Now, LaFleur didn't win anything with Rodgers, but I don't even know that Kyle could work with him.
I don't think he could work with Brady. The first time he called the play Brady didn't like, Brady would say, I'm not going to run it. I'm going to do this. And then they'd have an argument, whose offense is it?
Right. So the only high-priced quarterback Kyle can really work with is Kirk Cousins. Like, come on, man. That's a problem, Kyle. Mr.
Yeah.
Kyle. What if he's the quarterback here next year, Kirk Cousins? There's a report, Mike Florio said that word around the league is that the Rams and the Niners are going to be in a tug-of-war for Kirk Cousins next year.
Who said that? Mike Florio?
Mike Florio. He's always wrong, though.
What's his batting average?
Oh, God. He's so far into the Mendoza line, it's hard to say.
Yeah, forget him.
53. Forget him.
Okay, could I do one more topic?
One more topic, yeah.
Because I got
you got topics.
I got 14 minutes. So over the weekend, I watched Reservoir Dogs.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I have something to say. First of all, I love it. I loved it. I loved it. The Mr. Blue, Mr. Pink. I love all of that stuff.
Iconic. It's great.
I have to say, I think Pulp Fiction is a better movie.
Wow. Why?
May I tell you why?
Please.
I agree with you. Pulp Fiction is too long.
Yep.
And they could have cut out the butt scene, and also the thing with the walking and the watch and swallow, all of that. It was juvenile.
It doesn't match the tone of the movie. Yep.
Absolutely not. It's juvenile.
Yeah.
And
right.
Tarantino is a juvenile in many ways.
He gets more juvenile with every movie. Sorry.
Absolutely. Yes. But I'll tell you why I think it's, say, slightly better than Reservoir Dogs. Reservoir Dogs happens in one room. It's like a play. It's like a filmed play.
Yeah.
I think there's more cinema. Yeah. There's more cinema in Pulp Fiction. Also, I don't think in Reservoir Dogs, as great as it is, there's a performance as good as Samuel L. Jackson in Pulp Fiction.
Well, yeah. Samuel L. Jackson in Pulp Fiction is just iconic. Absolutely. You're right. Yeah. You're right. You're right. You're right.
Iggy,
you're right.
You're right. And also,
I would have to agree with both of those.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you something else. Travolta is really good in that movie. Yeah. And the dance scene, C'est la vie, say the old folks, with him and Uma Thurman, that's an iconic scene in movies.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is...
You're right.
Pulp Fiction has these moments that you can never, ever get out of your mind.
Reservoir Dogs does too. The opening scene where they're at the cafe. Those two conversations.
Oh, I love it.
Because I mean, those kind of those are the kind of conversations they're constantly having in Pulp Fiction. You know what I mean?
Yes.
The irreverent conversation with criminals that has nothing to do with what they're about to do. And why?
They're almost intellectuals.
They're intellectual. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's go kill people.
Yeah, right.
One thing you got to remember though is that when Reservoir Dogs came out, like I think the budget for that movie was like $1 million. So he wasn't accomplished enough to get Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta and Bruce Willis. Like Reservoir Dogs was such a success, and then True Romance was such a success that he could have a big budget movie. And if you think about it, Pulp Fiction is kind of like a big budget version of Reservoir Dogs. They're very similar.
I agree.
Yeah.
You know what? Iggy, he had hardly any money for the movie. I think he had $30,000 for Reservoir Dogs. Somehow Harvey Keitel got to read the script. He got the financing and became a co-producer.
So that's a great story.
Keitel said, I like this. I want to be in it and I want to co-produce it. I'll get you the money. Now, he didn't get him a lot of money, but he got the money to make the movie.
Enough. And what I like about that is by the time he made Pulp Fiction, he was like an artiste. You know,
Yes.
everyone understood this guy's genius. So you can't edit him. He could do whatever he wants. And that was cool.
Right.
But at the same time, I like work by an artist earlier in their career when they haven't achieved that level yet. And they're still
Yes.
proving themselves.
And understand, I love Reservoir Dogs. I'm not putting
I love
it
Pulp
down.
Fiction. I love Jackie Brown.
So,
Those three are great.
oh, Jackie Brown,
three.
what a movie.
You can make the
You
argument
know-
that Jackie Brown's better than both of them.
Yeah. Iggy,
Yeah.
there isn't a wrong moment in Jackie Brown. Everything about that movie is perfect.
Agree. And as opposed to Pulp Fiction. And one of the things that's so great about those first three Tarantino movies is soundtracks. And you
Yes.
could argue that the Jackie Brown soundtrack's the best with the doo-wop.
And the Delphonics.
Because it has a whole theme. Reservoir Dogs has a theme too with the super sounds of the 70s. Pulp Fiction has great songs too, but it jumps around.
Yes. What is the
Yeah.
theme of the super sounds of the 70s?
It's just like whatever. It's just a radio station that's having like a weekend special of just like throwback
Yeah.
70s songs.
I love
And
it.
I forget the guy's name who has that deadpan voice. You're tuned in to super sounds of the 70s.
Right.
And he plays it, cranks it up when he's cutting the guy's ear off. I mean, that's a pretty iconic scene. It's tough to watch, but that scene where he's dancing to clowns on the left of me, jokers on the right, and he cuts his ear. I mean, come on. Is that the
That's a
best
great
torture
scene.
scene in the history?
Yeah.
That's the best torture scene ever.
That's Mike Marsden.
Mike Madsen. Yeah.
Madsen. Iggy.
So he's great in that movie. He's great.
in that movie.
He's a great psycho in that movie. He's a great psycho in that movie.
Absolutely. And the dancing before he's gonna love it, right?
He's gonna
love it.
He's savoring it. He wants to savor it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That is-
Steve Buscemi's great in that movie. Steve Buscemi's
He
great in
is.
that movie. Tim Roth is better in that movie than he is in Pulp Fiction. He has a bigger role.
I agree. I agree.
Harvey Keitel's just freaking. He's better in that movie than he is in Pulp Fiction. Bigger role.
Mr. Wolf.
Love
Yeah.
both of those movies. And Quentin Tarantino's in both of them.
He's in the first scene. And I want to tell you, Iggy, in the first scene when they go around, there's Mr. Blue. You hardly see Mr. Blue in the movie. In real life, Mr. Blue was a writer named Edward Bunker. He wrote one of the greatest crime novels ever. I forgot the name of it. In fact, I just got it. I read it online. I liked it so much. I got it as a book.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. In real life, Edward Bunker was a career criminal. He was in San Quentin.
Wow.
He didn't get out until he was, I think, in his 30s. And then he had started writing in prison. And then he was so successful, he didn't have to be a crook anymore. But Tarantino admired him and put him in the movie as Mr. Blue.
Wow.
And then Edward Bunker wrote a memoir about his life called Mr. Blue.
Wow. That's freaking amazing. See, that makes that story even better. The fact that another thing about Reservoir Dog, the fact that their characters are named Mr. Color, like that's iconic too. Remember when I was a little kid and we had Mr. Blue, Mr. Gray?
Yeah.
Because of that movie. I didn't even know.
That's right. We called our cars by the color, Mr. This, Mr. That. We did.
And see Buscemi saying,
love
why do
that
I got to be
movie.
Mr. Pink? Why do I got to be Mr. Pink? Because you're Mr. Pink. That's it.
Yeah. You know, Buscemi was a pain in the ass. He didn't want to pay the dollar tip and he didn't want to be, he was always a contrarian, right?
He's the one guy who doesn't die. No, I think he gets, I think he gets arrested, but
Yeah,
he's the one guy who doesn't die.
Right.
So maybe you should be a contrarian. Maybe you should question everything, man. Yeah, I don't know. I like
Anyway, so thanks for
it's hard to watch though, right? It's a lot of screaming. It's a lot of screaming in that one room.
a lot of blood.
Oh God! Oh God! You're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. I don't know. You sure?
At the end, when Keitel is screaming and he's over Tim Roth, it's like the ending of King Lear.
Yeah, absolutely, it is, right?
Right? It's like the
Did
ending
you
of
guys
King
just
Lear.
all suit each other already?
All right, I gotta go.
All right, I'm gonna answer a few more super chats over here, but I'll see you later.
No.
You good?
I'll wait
Are you
till
good? Okay,
I'll wait
all
till
right.
noon. I want to see.
Pharisee says, is Danny Gray going to get on the field this year? I don't even think he's going to make the team. We'll see. Nadro Niner says, love the show, guys. It was curious that Kittle said what Kelsey told him about how he and Pat work on things and how he's trying to do the same with Trey. It was curious that Kittle said what Kelsey told him about how he and Pat work on things and how he is trying to do the same with Trey. Well, let's see if Trey's on the team.
Yeah, and also I love how Kittle always makes himself the center of the team. It's
Yeah.
about Kittle. It's
Yeah,
not
like he's
about
the head
Trey.
coach. Like
Oh,
he's the head coach. Oh
absolutely.
yeah, I'm working with Trey. Yeah, I'm doing what I can.
Give me a break.
Give me a freaking break.
That guy is such a news hound. You know what I
Oh yeah,
mean? Yeah. Okay.
absolutely.
Let's move
And
on.
what's funny is a lot of other people that do what he does get the label of diva, attention mongerer. Not him. Everyone thinks he's
No.
just really just the most charming guy. Ink Talk TV says from quest for 6 to Super Bowl window, and you replace the quarterback you don't want with a quarterback that's the exact same, maybe less. Stop the Super Bowl talk, please.
Sounds good to me.
It's a quarterback league. Josh Wyatt says, my point was that they didn't believe in Trey. Why trade assets to win now if you are convinced that Lance won't work, which explains the entire 2022 offseason when they didn't fill obvious needs? Well, I think that's very brave that they tried to tank last year after going to the NFC Championship. Most teams would try to do better after going to the NFC Championship. The Niners are going to take a step back because they play the long game, which is why they're the best organization. Lemonade stands win Super Bowls. Non-lemonade stands think about winning Super Bowls and plan it for the future. Overseas Niners says Cousins has always been Kyle Shanahan's guy. This is the let's see year for Brock. If he isn't the guy, then they'll pivot to Kirk. It's dumb, not excited. I agree.
Kirk, what is he, 100 years old by now?
He'll be 36 next year if the Niners get him.
Yeah.
36.
Yeah.
That's who you want. Matthew Sanders says, I don't know, Lowell. Keitel brought the house down in Reservoir Dogs.
Absolutely. I'm not putting down. It's not an either or an or. I'm saying I have a preference for one movie than the other, but I love them both.
We were comparing A+ movies here.
And I thought Keitel was great. In addition, Keitel's from Brooklyn. He went to Lincoln High School right over in Brighton Beach by Coney Island. And get this, Iggy, his parents ran a luncheonette.
Wow.
And I'm going to say one other thing. He's a Jewish guy. Keitel, my ass. Keitel. Iggy, right?
Was he trying to make it sound French or something?
I'm telling you. You think in Brighton Beach he was Keitel? He was, hey, Keitel, come over here.
Keitel. All right. I got one thing that, now that I just thought about it, one thing that makes that Pulp Fiction has going for it that Reservoir Dogs doesn't, and it's a big one. Uma Thurman.
Oh, well, the other movie doesn't have a woman.
There you go. That's what I'm saying. Uma Thurman is a big difference between Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction. And you could argue that Uma Thurman's performance in Pulp Fiction was the best.
Absolutely. She was wonderful in that movie.
She was.
Yeah,
so
she was wonderful.
That was fun to talk about. Ivan says, I was too young when the Niners won the last Super Bowl. I like hearing your pop stories about Walsh. I like hearing your pop stories about Walsh and company when Super Bowls were won, the good old lemonade stand days.
Okay, next time I'll tell a Walsh story, but I don't have time today, guys.
Okay. Bang Bang says, how can you have two of the biggest losses ever to Mahomes and Brady and not want an elite quarterback?
Well,
yeah,
you should have loined.
You should have loined. Edgardo says the Shanahans never have developed a quarterback. Why? Because they feel like they are the quarterback, not the one on the field. You can get away with it. This is California, not Northeast, Kyle. Yeah. They're the quarterback. They're the decision makers. They're the ones reading the defenses. They just need a guy to throw the ball. That's sort of what they're looking for, not a quarterback. A guy to throw the ball. Kev F says, thoughts on the Chris Paul trade. Would you trade Clay?
I would
trade Chris Paul again.
Yeah. Before he gets hurt.
God. He'll be good for like a month. Don't trade Clay. Ramelia Sports Report says Papa Cohn pushing back on McVay a bit. McVay deserves credit. He realized Goff was costing Rams games, got Stafford. Now McVay's youngest head coach in the NFL history with a statue looking down. And Kyle, great show.
I give him credit for getting Stafford. I don't give him credit for developing Goff because he's doing better in Detroit. In Detroit last season, he did better than Stafford did.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
He went to the Pro Bowl, right?
Yep. And you could argue that the biggest reason Sean McVay has a Super Bowl ring right now is that he faced Kyle Shanahan in the NFC Championship and that Kyle blew it. Like, I really thought the Niners had a better team than the Rams that year. They beat them twice in the regular season. They beat them 6 times in a row, and Kyle found a way to score 17 points and lose in that game. I don't understand that one. I think that's getting out coached. Tyler says, I'm a Saints fan, and watching what the Niners are doing to Trey Lance angers me. They gave up so much capital. He's only had 100 snaps. Start him, please.
It's a reasonable point of view.
Yeah, from your lips to God's ears, Tyler. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. We had a ton of people in today. It's been a while. Thank you, Dad. I'll
Thanks, Iggy.
call you in a minute, and I love you.
I love you, Iggy. This was very enjoyable. Call me, and then I'll run to the city. Take care,
Sounds good.
everybody.